Well, hey everybody, Jonathan Doyle with you here once again, supplysidepartners.com. Thanks for tuning in for a moment. I hope you're enjoying the content. We've got some great interviews coming up next week. I'm really excited about interviewing Paul Kingsnorth, which is just going to be brilliant. So listen, today I want to share with you another great quote from John Rubino at Dollar Collapse. I think John puts out some great stuff. He's been working hard at this stuff for many years, and today he shared with us a great article which he entitled, "Thanks for Your Concern, Mr. Fink." And he quotes Larry Fink, who of course many of you would know is the CEO of BlackRock. And in this interview, Larry Fink is talking about how bad he feels that many people are going to have to start working into their 70s to be able to fund any kind of retirement. And why is that? Of course, it is because the real inflation that's happening at the moment, food price inflation, a bunch of other stuff, is making people's dollars worth less and less. So anybody who was planning, of course, to retire on some kind of fixed income annuity is in serious trouble. So I want to share the quote with you from John because I think it's really good. So I'll just switch over to this now. So this is the quote. He says, "Working into one's 70s while loading up on volatile assets like stocks is just the price we have to pay. So the big banks and their favoured customers can make enough money to finance incumbent politicians' re-election campaigns. See, the system works." So, interviewing Paul Kingsnorth next week is going to be very interesting because he started out as a incredibly active environmental activist, right? Chain yourself to a bulldozer kind of guy. But he became very disillusioned with it the closer he got to it and just had more and more resistance to some of what was happening in the environmental movement. And I felt a kind of affinity because when COVID hit, I pivoted my career and started getting into macro. And I came into it as somebody who always had this idea that capitalism was the greatest system ever and free markets were the greatest thing ever. And, but then, the more that I began to study and read, I realised that really what we've got, of course, isn't free market capitalism. It's regulatory capture and it's crony capitalism and it's shadow banking and it's a 1% of the population or less making enormous amounts of money while the middle class essentially disappears and the poor get UBI. So I like what John's writing because I think it resonates. I think that those of us that care about classical economics, that care about supply side, that have this crazy idea that if government gets out of the way, if we get, to quote the wonderful Nathan Lewis, if we just get low taxes and stable money, then men and women can be incentivized to produce useful goods and services that people actually want to purchase. So I think we're in this really unique historical moment where I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, if you want to post something in the comments, like we're in a system of enormous complexity. So the interplay of technology, human greed, the stuff that I've read over the last few years, black pools, investment black pools, shadow pools, dark pools, shadow banking. So now as somebody who's in my, late 40s, still got a young family. And what's that old saying? They used to say that a neoconservative is a Democrat who's been mugged or something. Is that how it goes? It's like, that sometimes it's not until the stuff hits you in the face personally that you begin to really review and look at what's happening. I think here in my country, Australia, Karen and I have just been, financially hammered. Our business was where we were traveling internationally, major global conferences, speaking to tens of thousands of people a year and being very well remunerated for it, and then having a media business off the back of it. And then when government goes into lockdowns here in Australia, it just effectively wiped out a huge part of our business. At that time, every public sector employee, including the political decision makers, well, I don't like using the term political decision makers because here in this country, what we have is unelected bureaucrats, medical officials, making decisions and then government leaders deferring to them. But all of the time they're on full pay, and some have had pay increases. So you see this huge imbalance. You begin to see a system that is fundamentally unjust. You can't have an effective polity. You can't have social cohesion if one section of the population is punished by decision making and another section of the society flourishes. Now, we need justice and punishments when people break laws, but that's not what's happened here. So I guess what I'm saying is it's just an extraordinary time in history to begin to... It's really the emperor's new clothes for me. It's really to look at our system and go, this is fundamentally unstable. And, my youngest child's kind of about 10, so it's like you start to think about the world they're inhabiting and what's going to happen. So, friends, thanks to John Rubino today for that great quote that reminding us that many people are going to be trapped in a system of having to work longer and harder for less and less. That's fundamentally unjust. It's what I like about supply side, right? Is I like this idea that and this comes through in Nathan's books on gold standards, that once you have low taxes and stable money, you tend to get way less crime, much better social cohesion. This stuff ain't rocket science. So listen, that's it. That's a few thoughts for today. Go and check out John at dollarcollapse.com. Wherever you're watching this, YouTube, if you're hearing it on the podcast, please hit subscribe. You can find everything else at supplysidepartners.com. All right, friends, get out there, hedge hard. I think it's time to, I don't think we've got too long left before this seismic house of cards comes crashing down. Thanks for checking in. I'll have some more content for you very soon.